Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. My name is AES and welcome to my YouTube channel. Commander Shepard's presence in gaming is one of my favorite experiences of all time. The sheer lore with the environments and characters is extraordinary, the interactions between the protagonist and his or her crew are memorable, and the presentation was better than average across the board. Even though Mass Effect 2 and 3 are almost unanimously agreed upon as the highlights of the franchise, each game of the trilogy is superb for multiple reasons, and they are the staple of how storytelling should be carried out in the role-playing genre. I, as well as many other gamers, have waited a long time for BioWare to bring the Mass Effect trilogy to the current generation of consoles. After years of anticipation, we have finally received a request in the form of the Mass Effect Legendary Edition. This video will not criticize each game in detail, as that coverage will take place sometime next year in a more detailed manner. Instead, today's discussion will focus on the collection as a whole and why it is a must-play, regardless of your experience or lack thereof with the series. What are my thoughts on today's game? Time to find out. Without further ado, let's review Mass Effect Legendary Edition, which was released this year and, for the purpose of transparency, was played on the PlayStation 5. Story. I do not want to give any spoilers because the story is worthwhile to experience on your own. I will, however, give you a very general synopsis of the plot. You play as Shepard, a commander that represents the best interests of humanity and every other peace-loving species in the galaxy. You are tasked with fending off another species that is threatening to destroy all life as you know it. This summary is insultingly basic and may appear to be generic. However, I promise you that the real plot is far from either of those descriptions. Along the way, you interact with NPCs, but also wonderfully characterized and voiced individuals who will accompany you on your journey. As you progress through the trilogy, the stakes become much higher, and by the time you reach the final act of Mass Effect 3, you will feel saddened by the fact that your adventures are coming to an end. Despite the high praises, I should inform you that the ending of Mass Effect 3 has been posed as quite a controversial conclusion, and even though the extended cut is included in the collection, some of the criticisms remain. Nevertheless, I absolutely adore the story in the trilogy, and I'm quite interested in seeing how BioWare will keep it going with the expected Mass Effect 4. Visuals and audio design. If the Legendary Edition is your first experience with the Mass Effect trilogy, you're lucky and in for a treat. Playing the first title in its original form was a chore because of the massive number of bugs, glitches, and frame rate drops. The remastered version of Mass Effect 1 is a visual treat, and it receives the biggest graphical upgrade of the three titles. Mass Effect 2 and 3 look slightly better than their older counterparts, but they are not slouching in this category neither. Character models, particularly your teammates, look great. The environments can be beautiful at times, and the effects from using your powers and firing your weapons hit the desired targets. Furthermore, all three games run at a solid 60 frames per second while playing in performance mode on the PlayStation 5. As far as the audio design is concerned, few role-playing titles match the Mass Effect trilogy. Voiceovers are excellent, and I have to give a huge shout out to Jennifer Hale, who plays female Commander Shepard. I have not experienced her acting prior to playing the Legendary Edition, as far as I know, and she did a fantastic job. The music is second to none. In terms of presentation, the Mass Effect Legendary Edition absolutely excels and serves as a standard for all other role-playing games. Gameplay. Every title in the package is a role-playing sci-fi adventure. You create a character while choosing a background story and one of a number of classes, which will allow you to either focus on weaponry, biotic powers, or a mixture of both. You will be accompanied by teammates that fall under one of those categories, and you can control your teammates' powers, but you will want to choose a set of powers for yourself that will appeal to your playstyle. Afterwards, you will roam around, kill enemies, and talk with allies and enemies while making critical story-changing choices. Be careful with the latter, as your picks will absolutely change the course of the narrative in a minor or major way. This portion of the gameplay is also impacted by your decision when it comes to following the Paragon route, being a good guy, traversing the Renegade path, being a bad guy, or being smack down the middle. I personally suggest that you avoid the third choice, but hey, you play the game the way you want. Mass Effect 1, 2, and 3 share the aforementioned mechanics, but each of them does offer slight or noticeable differences that may encourage you to prefer one over the other. Mass Effect 1 incorporates two unique abilities. On one hand, you can land on several planets while riding a vehicle called the Mako, exploring the environment and completing quests. The driving controls are a bit janky, but I can confirm that they have at least improved from their presence in the original trilogy. On the other hand, your guns do not have ammunition. Instead, there is a heating system, whereas you can fire your gun for a certain amount of time until it overheats. It is advisable that you pay attention in combat. You do not want to come up against a difficult enemy only for the game to prevent you from firing your gun. Once you jump to Mass Effect 2, you regain access to ammunition, which transforms the gunplay system into a more traditional third-person shooter. However, you are unable to explore various planets, with the exception of a few missions. Instead, you are encouraged to scan planets for resources that will allow you to purchase upgrades for your teammates and your ship. It is not a spoiler, but it would be in your best interest to get your hands on every upgrade. The last component of the collection is Mass Effect 3. The tedious nature of collecting resources is gone, and the combat system is much more streamlined than the previous titles. The third entry in the trilogy is the most accessible title. However, it does come with one of the worst quest logging systems I have ever seen in a video game. Unlike Mass Effect 1 and 2, there will be moments when you are uncertain what you're supposed to do in a side mission during Mass Effect 3. It does not happen very often, but it does not happen at all in the first two games. This nuisance is not a deal breaker, but you should be aware of it. Overall, the gameplay is solid for a set of role-playing titles, and it definitely improves as you make your way to the ending of Mass Effect 3. Fun factor: if memory serves me correctly, I beat the entire original trilogy 3 times. Obviously, I beat the Legendary Edition once. I plan to beat the original trilogy again and the remaster collection one more time before the end of next year. Do you think that I had fun with the games? If you nodded in agreement, you'll be correct. Allow me to say the following. Mass Effect 1 does have a slow start when you're in the main city, and you are required to roam around and talk with a lot of folks to advance the story. If you are disengaged during the portion, trust me, keep going. It only gets better, and once you reach Mass Effect 2, you will be hooked. Impressions on PlayStation trophies. One of the reasons that I did not earn the Platinum Trophy for the PlayStation 3 versions of the trilogy is due to the inclusion of a difficulty-related challenge, which asks you to beat the game on the insane difficulty setting. They do exist in the Legendary Edition, but they are not required to get the Platinum reward. The same goes with a few more grindy objectives, which have been toned down here. Here's an example. In the PlayStation 3 version of Mass Effect 1, you were asked to beat most of the game with each companion, forcing you to complete the title multiple times. In the Legendary Edition of the first title, you only need to wrap up 5 missions with each teammate. It makes a huge difference, and it saves a lot of time. The collection gives you 3 Platinum trophies, 1 for each game. They are all incredibly easy to achieve, as most of the challenges can be done within one playthrough by reaching the end of the story, while grinding a tiny bit for some of the combat obstacles, like using a specific power on enemies a certain number of times. Either game is so engrossing, you may actually earn the Platinum trophies and not even realize it. When should you pick it up? Immediately. I'll save you the trouble. Whether you're a first timer with the franchise or you played each game in the trilogy multiple times, go play it now. Thank me later. In the end, the Mass Effect Legendary Edition is one heck of an experience. Mass Effect 1 received the refresher that it needed, while Mass Effect 2 and 3 boost the frame rate and maintain their greatness with all of their downloadable content. It's too bad that 2/3 of the collection did not receive truly noticeable visual upgrades, but I'm personally okay with it due to how well designed were the middle and ending of the trifecta. Putting the debate about the ending aside, the Mass Effect trilogy is my favorite 3-part narrative of all time, and the Legendary Edition does it justice. I will give the Mass Effect Legendary Edition from 2021 a 9.3 out of 10. Well folks, that's the end of the video. Thank you very much for checking it out. What are your thoughts on the Mass Effect Legendary Edition? Have you played the original versions? What do you think about the changes? Please let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Till next time, have a great day or evening wherever you are. My name is AES, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye.